Hola, hola. I'm Dyani Leal, and this channel is brought to you by Dyanimite Investment Realty, based out of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Today, we're going to talk about 3 areas in PV with the lowest buy-in, but the highest projected long-term return. So first, if you know the area, you might think that this sounds a little bit crazy, but I'm going to say Estapa. So Estapa is an area that's located just about 15 minutes from the airport inland. It's 7 minutes from the Home Depot behind Las Juntas area. And it's also just about like 13 minutes from the Versailles area, just to give you a little bit of a feel. So it's really not that removed or far from anything, but there's not a lot of businesses around the area. So you're not going to be swinging by Estapa on your way to anywhere, really. And so because it's a little bit removed and there aren't, a ton of there's not a ton of economic activity happening there, it's just kind of out there. It's a little bit forgotten, and it's not on the radar of most tourists or foreigners or investors that are looking at property. So I have this friend and client who is a real estate investor in the States, and this person buys mostly investment properties for flipping. So, fixer-uppers, and then does some work and then sells them. So he was looking at things in a particularly lower price point. He requested that I find him an investment property. It was about a year ago, maybe a little bit more. And at this point, the average condo in the whole PV area was selling for about $450K. And his price point was more like $80K. So I was having some trouble really finding something in this price point, and I couldn't find anything on the MLS. There were just maybe 2 or 3 listings. So I just kind of got in my car and I was driving around in, just all over PV and just kind of looking for things and, just thinking, where would I find something at that price point, an investment property? And I wound up in Estapa. And I stumbled across this development called Azul Peninsula. It's a pretty large development with a pool, and it's right near this tech high school. So there was just a lot of hustle and bustle and things going on, people running around, and it looked like there was just a lot happening in the area, and I was a little bit surprised. And so, I went in to look into it a little bit more. And these condos, 2-bedroom condos, about 56 meters squared, were selling at the 1 million peso price point, which is about $59,000. So, I had found it of the lower range price point in PV in Estapa. So when I was talking to the listing agent who represented the developer and was giving me the tour, he also mentioned that this particular street is where there will be a highway that's going to be built that will go all the way to La Cruz de Guanacaste. So I've looked into this a little bit more, and on this street, Avenida Verde Vallarta, there is supposed to be a highway constructed, which is going to be inaugurated pretty soon, supposedly 3 months from the time we're recording this. And there's a couple reasons why this is important, not just for the Estapa area, but for PV in general. One is that right now there is only one route from Jalisco into Nayarit, which is, from your PV area, Zona Romantica, the airport where that centralized area is, to other areas that people, really tend to frequent and visit, tourists, but also people, live. That's where I live, is in the Nayarit area where Nuevo Vallarta is and Bucerias is. Or if you go a little bit further north, you get to Sayulita, which is another very popular place to visit. So right now, because there's only one route from PV to Nayarit, the highway can get pretty backed up if there's just one accident or something. There's no alternate route. You're just stuck. And, anybody who's lived in PV or, visited for an extended period of time knows that occasionally you will get stuck on this highway and there's really nothing you can do about it. So the construction of this new highway is kind of a game changer for those of us who are used to this commute. And it's obviously going to bring a lot of attention and traffic directly through the Estapa area. And also, as I've mentioned, it's only 15 minutes from the airport, only 13 minutes from Versailles. It's not very far from the coast. So there is a lot of promise in the location itself. And of course, businesses and other economic growth is bound to continue to happen in the region. While right now, at this particular point in time, the buy-in and the price point is still pretty low. So number 2 is the Mojoneras area, which is also known as the area around the university. So that's one big thing, of course, about this area is it's around the university. So any place that's near a university is going to attract people that are going to maybe move to the area to study and possibly leave other areas of the city or state to come into the zone and relocate. So clearly, having property in a university area is never really a bad idea because you're always going to have people that are going to be interested in looking for housing. So aside from being an area that's characterized by the existence of one of Puerto Vallarta's most established universities, UNIVA, it is also home to a mariposario, which is a butterfly sanctuary. So this butterfly sanctuary is kind of important for the region because it takes up a large amount of space. It's dedicated to wildlife preservation, and there's a lot of trees. So it makes the area very calm, and there is, it's a little cooler out there, and it just has a very tranquil and really nice vibe, honestly. I just went out there kind of recently because a client of mine is interested in looking for properties, and she's looking around the 200K price point. So, as we discussed a little bit earlier, the more, the average price point right now in 2024 is about 350K for a condo. And that's pretty average. Of course, if you're going to Zona Romantica, you can expect, more like 800K, 700K. And, you can find cheaper ones in areas like Mojoneras. So I went out to check out this condo, and it was $117,000 US, which is considerably low. So this 2-bedroom condo is about 77 square meters, and it apparently rents pretty well on Airbnb. There were a lot of people living there, a fair amount of foreigners who were of retired age swimming in the pool, just, through my observation and what the listing agent had told me about the complex itself. And I'd read a good amount about it in various WhatsApp groups I'm in, like mom groups and for families as well, saying it's just a very safe area and very tranquil. So, people are pretty happy there. The condominium complex itself is called Los Sauces, which is part of a 5-part development project that's been initiated by Grupo Gova, who's one of the most established developers in the region. They're just starting Vivento Habitat Natural, this project, and Los Sauces is the only development that has been completed so far, but all the space is blocked off where the other 4 developments are going to be constructed over time. And, there'll be more roads leading into it, and, more growth happening in the area, not just as a direct result of this project, but for many different reasons. The area is not that far from things. It's really close to Estapa. It's also going to be impacted by the construction of the highway. So, we can see that Estapa will probably be projected to grow economically as businesses kind of form around that area. And I can, really see that extending towards the Mojoneras area, which also has some other promising features, such as the university and the butterfly sanctuary. So the third area that I want to talk about today is called Valle Dorado. And Valle Dorado is a little bit further from these other 2 areas, which we talked about, Estapa and Las Mojoneras, because it's in Nayarit. So it's further from the airport, further from, central PV, but it's actually a little bit closer to some other well-known areas like Nuevo Vallarta and Bucerías. It's only about 15 minutes from Nuevo Vallarta, and it's about 25 minutes from the airport. So one exciting thing about the Valle Dorado area is the famous Pancho's Tacos, which you might be familiar with if you've ever been to PV, is a little restaurant that has a long line that sometimes wraps around the street corner because, the tacos are really good and people will wait for a long time to get one. So Pancho's Tacos actually has a second restaurant, and it's in Valle Dorado. So that's reason enough for me to move there. Just kidding. But no, really, it is a really great area. There's a lot of stuff happening there. My kids, I go there frequently. I go to the gym that's there. My kids go to dance activities and art classes, and there's just a lot happening. It's also just active with, street food and street fairs. When you go through the Valle Dorado area, you can see that it's just, a very lively place with a lot of, action. Another, of course, big thing that Valle Dorado is known for is it's, the area that's kind of behind Lago Real. And Lago Real is a shopping center that has Walmart. It's also, directly next to Chedraui and Lale, which are two other well-known supermarkets. And within the Lago Real shopping center is also a movie theater, lots of little stores, places to get ice cream. It's, it's a place where people often go for the day to run errands or, hang out with their families.
Lago Real.
Lago Real. Lago Real is the mall. Very, very close to Valle Dorado is Jaretaderas, which is a region that is also, very up and coming. And in that area, you have Vedanta World, which is an amusement park that's being constructed by Vedanta Resorts, which is a very established resort and timeshare company. This is a project that's been going on for a while, and it's really starting to come together. And it's very exciting for people who live in the area. And also it promises to bring a fair amount of tourism, both national and international, for people who want to go to this amusement park. It is also right next to Splash and Aquaventura, which are two water parks. So you can see why the area of Valle Dorado, which just borders this, it's all in the same kind of little zone, is something where people who are planning on going to these different attractions might consider a vacation rental in that region. And as Vedanta World starts to grow and come together, you can probably see an increase in vacation rentals in the Valle Dorado area as well. There are two big condominium developments in Valle Dorado, and I went to both of them recently. One is called Rincon de Cielo. Rincon de Cielo is a development that spans a pretty large portion of Valle Dorado, and there are a lot of different sections to it. Each one has at least one pool, and it's very well manicured, very maintained, and the people there just seem really happy. I went to a birthday party there, and I've recently checked out a listing there in that area. This listing I went to see is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house that is 130 square meters and very spacious. It just borders the common area, and it has a feel of a single family home, and with, your own backyard, and it looks over the pool. There's just a lot of, sprawling landscape and space. And it's a really nice area. And, that's one of the biggest things about Nayarit is you really get more space than you do in Jalisco, in Vallarta. Another big complex where I've also been to some kid birthday parties is El Firmamento. El Firmamento is pretty affordable and also very spacious condos with 2 very nice pools as well. And it's a large retirement community. So at El Firmamento, you can get a 1-bedroom for about 180,000 US dollars, and that's going to be about 116 meters squared. So pretty big for 1 bedroom. You can also get a 2-bedroom for about $215,000 US dollars, which is going to be about 150 meters squared. So also pretty big. I mean, bigger than that 3-bedroom house in Rincon de Cielo. So you see some pretty spacious, nice condos with people who are really happy in these areas if you're thinking about, the private coto. And another thing to consider, about all of these areas, Estapa, Mojoneras, Valle Dorado, and, there is a handful of them, but these are the 3 that we're featuring today. But another thing to kind of think about when you think of these, up and coming regions with more like long-term projected growth rates is land. Buying land will never depreciate. Land is relatively inexpensive, especially in areas like this. So it may be worth considering purchasing a plot of land in one of these areas and either holding on to it for a little bit or, building your own home on it. So, of course, these three places are my recommendations based on my observations. Keep in mind that the real estate industry in Puerto Vallarta right now is pretty highly competitive and it's constantly moving and evolving and changing. And it might be a good idea to consider getting in on some of these things before the major growth happens, such as, before the highway is built. And before Vedanta World gains in popularity and starts attracting more and more people, these are areas where the buy-in is still pretty low. I really hope that all of this is helpful. I've done a fair amount of exploring. I've been in PV for about 7 years. I speak fluent Spanish. I, really try to look into things for my clients and go above and beyond for them. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out directly to me. You can find my contact information very readily available online, right here on my YouTube channel, in my page description, in the description of this video. And of course, check out my Google reviews if you want to learn a little bit more about me and the services that I offer. You can Google my name, Dyani Leal. And I hope to hear from you. And also, of course, just drop a comment and let me know, what are some other topics you'd like me to cover? Do you have questions or observations about this particular topic, about these areas? Do you want to know more about them? If you call me up and you say, hey, I want to know more about that area, I will go check it out for you without any problems. So just really, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Of course, please, if you like the content, give this video a like, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. Until next time.